Welcome to Setting the Bar, a Workbar Podcast. I'm Maddie.
I'm Sarah.
And we are here today with Julia Travaglini, head of Greentown Boston. Welcome.
Welcome, Julia.
We are so excited to have you. As usual, we have been chatting before we started recording, but I'm going to give the audience a little scoop on Julia. We're thrilled to have her here today. She has spent nearly a decade helping build one of the most important climate innovation ecosystems in the U.S.
So cool.
Thanks. Sounds so cool. Now she leads a community of about 150 startups tackling challenges across energy, transportation, buildings, architecture, agriculture, and manufacturing.
Yeah.
We're so excited to dive in today.
Thank you.
And she's doing it while raising 3 kids under 6.
Yes, which,
which we talked a little bit about before we turned on the microphones. But this is also near and dear to, obviously, Maddie's heart and my heart. So we can sort of kick it off talking about you leading one of the biggest climate innovation ecosystems in the whole world while being a mom to 3 kids under 6. Your youngest is 1, is that right?
Tuesday. Yeah.
On
Not
Tuesday.
to
Happy
brag.
birthday. So give us a little glimpse into how your morning went getting here. But also, we also like to leave all of our listeners with tips and tricks and all those kinds of things. What systems, boundaries have you had to build into your life to make all of this sustainable?
Thank you. Well, first, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here, both to talk about Greentown and being a working mom.
Yeah.
2 subjects I'm very passionate about.
Yeah.
Love Workbar, longtime fan.
Thank you.
Thank you. So my morning honestly went very well. Knock on wood this morning.
Okay.
Things went well.
We love to hear
I think
it.
a lot of that in terms of the systems is foundational. My husband and I it's a true partnership.
Yeah.
So last night, Sunday night, we look at the calendar together. We see who's doing drop-offs on what days, who's doing pickups, what's our week look like. Laundry is not folded, but it's clean.
Okay.
And so we have
that is a
clothes
win.
ready and
Better
picked
than at
out.
my house.
We try to do as much the night before as possible. So
Yeah.
all lunches have been packed, labels for the bottles have been written, all down to those details, try to get that all set up. And then we are both morning workout folks.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So shout out to my husband. He got his done this morning. I did not. I chose not to, but did a shower and got ready before the kiddos were up.
Yeah.
And then tag teamed breakfast. Then he had to head off for an early morning. And then I did drop-offs and headed right here to the studio.
And Julia
Okay.
said, I don't know if you were listening when she was mentioning this was funny, and it reminded me of my daycare drop-off days when she was dropping off her little one. There was a baby in the corner throwing up, and she was like, okay, so stay away from Tommy today.
Don't touch that
Bring
baby.
those germs home.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I did. I was like, can you stay over here, buddy? Look
Yeah.
at these toys.
Oh
Let's
my
leave
God.
that friend over there. I know. Yeah, that was
Nothing worse.
That was a hard moment this morning. But my other kiddos happy to see their friends, see their teachers. And
It's so lovely when they run into, especially after a long weekend, they run into daycare. They're happy to be there. You're happy to drop them off, and it gives me all the feels of remembering back when.
It's so nice when those mornings go smoothly and you just feel like the greatest baddie of all time. You're like, oh, I'm just like a
Nailing it.
businesswoman handling it all. And then you just black out the really bad mornings.
And then the next morning, you're like, what am I doing?
Yeah,
right.
Honestly, the weather is lovely today, and I feel like that lifts everybody's spirits
does.
too. So, especially after a rainy
After a rainy weekend,
Totally.
it was
everybody
really nice.
has a little pep in their step, a smile on their
Yes.
face when the sun's back out and shining, especially in Boston.
I know. I was just going to
where-
say, the poor New England
Yeah.
girlies were
I know.
suffering.
All weekend in the rain.
All
I know.
weekend in the rain. I was
Yeah.
on the sports field, and it was wet.
In the rain.
Oh,
That's
it was
commitment.
wet. I know.
it is
I know.
commitment.
Well, now in the day of turf, they don't cancel anything. It's not. They don't. And you guys will see this
that's
as
a
your
good
kids start
point.
getting older. It's no
Yeah.
longer. Oh, we have to save the fields.
Yeah.
It's get out there and play.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh,
Oh, rain gear. Well,
yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway,
soon we will
Soon enough.
have that
I'm
horror
sure.
to add to the list.
you will. You will.
All right. Well, I would love to get a high-level explanation of Greentown because I hear climate tech, and then we can dig into the rest. But climate tech could mean so many things, and it does
Yes.
sound so cool, and it definitely is. I would love to hear kind of the origins of Greentown.
Sure. Yes, we can take it back. There's actually some synergies, I think, about 2013
I think so, too.
and when
Yeah.
Workbar and Greentown. So Greentown is known as the largest climate tech and energy tech incubator in the world. We quantify that by two metrics. So the number of startups that call Greentown home. Since our founding in 2011, it's been over 700 now that have come
Wow.
and called Greentown home. Here in the Boston area, we're based out of Somerville. And we also 5 years ago expanded to Houston, Texas. So we have
Yes.
2 locations, which is really exciting. And so the key metrics are the number of startups that call us home and then the square footage under management. So just the campuses that we operate as well.
It's amazing.
And so we think about Greentown's purpose. Our mission is it's twofold. One is to accelerate startups, help them move faster, further together, remove friction, help them get their technologies to market. And the other is to really catalyze ecosystems around those startups. So bringing in customers, investors, strategic partners, also each other. A huge
Right.
part of the Greentown ethos is the community. Like a big value add at Greentown is that you're surrounded by folks who are working on similar challenges in similar sectors that are still working kind of mission aligned, values aligned, working to build a more sustainable world and environment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can tell you about the founding story too.
Yeah,
but-
so I wanted you to go back a little bit to the founding story because it does resonate with me
Yes.
and how Workbar organically sort of came into being. And I think that there's something very like Boston, Cambridgey about it, but something very sort of, like you said, sort of synchronous
Yes.
with how Workbar started. And it wasn't sort of this polished institutional.
Definitely, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your origin story,
Yes.
how Greentown, and you didn't, I know you guys are in Somerville, but was it originally in Kendall Square?
It was
Or were
right on the edge. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So great memory. Thank you. So that was 2011.
Okay.
Right out of the MIT ecosystem, 4 startups came together to share space, to share rent, to find this kind of really dilapidated warehouse that has since been torn down, is now a new headquarters for actually a great partner of ours, GE Vernova, is like right up the
Oh,
street
nice.
from where our original location was in Cambridge. So those 4 founders came together, and then just through word of mouth, a community grew around them to 4 to 9 really quickly. And then those companies came together and said, we really need to make this into something. This community is really special. They went then into the Seaport at 337 Summer Street.
Oh, interesting.
Moved over there to about 20,000 square feet. That was just when it was being dubbed
I was
the
like, this
Innovation
was
District.
before the Seaport was the
Yes.
Seaport.
It was still
Okay.
surface parking lots.
This was mud lots.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly.
I
Mud
remember
lot.
this.
Yes, and
it was
so
the mud
it was
lots.
yes.
Yeah, I
So
parked
it
there.
was a sub basement. It was not a fancy, well built out. They all volunteered, kind of painting, brought in supplies. It was very much a community driven community. It was a people driven, peer driven, friend driven community of folks building hardware oriented. At the time, we really called it environmental and clean tech or green tech at the time solutions. So that was about 20 startups or so at that time. So now you're looking at about 2012.
Okay.
And then very quickly over the course of the next year, 18 months or so, we outgrew the space and the space outgrew our budget.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, I
that
bet.
was also in parallel when the Seaport was becoming
The
the
Innovation
Innovation
District.
District,
Yeah.
and it became what it is today.
Yeah.
And so at the time also, then Mayor Joe Curtatone of Somerville, longtime mayor, longtime leader, I think longest serving in
Is that
Somerville's
right?
history,
Wow.
like 18 years, I think, or something, was working to redevelop and re-envision what the Union Square neighborhood and kind of the edges of the Union Square neighborhood in Somerville could be. And they had all these amazing old buildings that were had really deep ties to manufacturing and industry. So we're in a building that used to be an envelope printing factory. Another one has deeper roots to copper and brass, seamless copper and brass tubing
Wow.
making and
So
manufacturing. So these beautiful buildings. And that's also when like Aeronaut was brought in over
Oh,
there.
yeah.
The bouldering gym. There's a lot of really cool spaces
Yeah.
kind of growing and kind of envisioning what that community could be. Makers,
Yeah.
artists. And so we went over there in 2013 with 25 startups. And over the next 2 years, built out that space, really filled it up, got to about 50 startups. Then again, Mayor Joe was catalytic in connecting us to our other landlord at the larger space that we're in, and we expanded into that in late 2017.
And how much space do you guys currently have there?
About 100,000 square
Oh
feet.
my gosh.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
Thank you. Across
Wow.
kind of our main facility is about 60,000 square feet. Another that's just shy of 40. It's like 36, I think. And then a couple private suites up the street too that we sublease
That
to our
you
larger
guys-
companies.
So you're just growing
so
organically.
cool.
Workbar, Workbar was founded in 2009 in Boston, but we did open up a Workbar location in Union Square right around the same time in 2013. And it was small. It was under 3,000 square feet, and it was in a storefront. But I mean, the community in Union Square is so special and
really
so
is.
vibrant. And
it still is all these years later.
All these years later, it
amazing.
hasn't lost its edge.
And Somerville's really special. I feel like we lived there for a while too.
Did
before
you?
We had kiddos, and I was very engaged in sort of community and civic engagement. And it's only 4 square miles. 1 square mile is roadways, so it's like 3 square miles of livable residential or commercial
I
space.
never knew that.
Isn't that a
That's
fun
so
fact?
cool.
Yeah, it's amazing
is.
what they've done, and it's obviously incredibly densely populated.
Right.
Super diverse.
Yep.
It's a really welcoming community, and we're really lucky to call Somerville home.
And how has the Green Line extension, that must have been a nice
nice
change
ad
for you guys, yeah.
for Greentown, for our community, for folks commuting to Greentown. It's been lovely.
That's great.
We are lucky that we're kind of right in between the red line and the green line now.
You
so
are.
very much walking distance to both.
Yeah.
I love thinking about spaces like that. Like, people are bopping around Somerville all the time, and some of like the world's most important, innovative, creative, like really critical work is going on behind closed doors. It's just a cool thing to think about. It's almost like the little Sims game, you know? It's like, don't worry, we're saving the world while you guys bop around the Somerville bars.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so neat. And when you talk about community, I think about it so much with Workbar, and it's so clear that's what you've created in Greentown. It's like this a community of people just with the same goals. It can be different businesses, but it's incredible to hear about spaces that bring people together like this. It really just drives the innovation that we need.
It's true. And when we think about sort of our community and what drives what our members find value, which I'm sure is very similar to yours, and it goes back to why Boston sort of has all these life-changing innovations. You have proximity to talent, proximity to funding, proximity to demand. And if you get all these people in a space where they can, we call it sort of bump and connect with one another, really special things start happening. And I think that Workbar, Greentown Labs, Mass Challenge, a lot of places, a lot of the incubators in Boston really have been catalysts for so many world-changing innovations, because we're just getting people in the same spot and watching really cool things happen.
Yeah, absolutely. We like to think about it as sort of like wraparound services as well. I think similar to Workbar as a Mass Challenges of supporting startups with the resources and services and tools and equipment, things they need at different stages of development too. We really believe at Greentown that everyone in the ecosystem has a place, number one, and that every incubator or accelerator, every program has a stage in the startup's journey. So we partner with folks like Mass Challenge because, one, they're an amazing organization. Of deep expertise, I think over 15 years since they were founded, just like Workbar. I think
similar. That we were founded around the same time.
Very similar ages. And we actually just about a little over a year ago, started a partnership with Mass Challenge because they launched a climate tech track. Which is amazing. So they've started to kind of go specifically down some verticals. I don't recall. I think there's a fintech, I think a health tech, maybe a food tech, and I know climate tech for sure. And so we said, well, you support folks at the earliest stage of innovation. So once they go through your amazing world-class programming, we could then be the next landing pad for those folks to grow and build their companies at Greentown. So it's been a lovely collaboration.
Because you would originally, I think when I originally read about your partnership, I thought, oh, aren't they competitors? And it's like, well, no. And it's exactly what you just said. It's almost like a launch pad for Mass Challenge. And then you bring them over into Greentown Labs. And isn't that amazing that like Boston has Mass Challenge and Greentown Labs to be the launch pad for some of these startup companies? You can't ask for more, for a better place to grow your business.
Thank
True.
you.
You really can.
I know, it's amazing. To think about that seamless handoff is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, well, we try to make it as seamless as possible, but
of course.
we're just lucky. We like to talk a lot about at Greentown the innovation infrastructure that Greentown and others, Workbar, The Engine, Mass Challenge, Activate, others provide these entrepreneurs and these innovators that I think is unique to Massachusetts. There's lots of other states have great innovation and entrepreneurial programs too.
joking. Of course they
but
do.
I do think it's one of Massachusetts' greatest superpowers and our strengths, and something that we should kind of be screaming from the rooftops, that we have these institutions that are supporting entrepreneurs and innovators, and we also should be supporting those institutions as well. I say that as a nonprofit.
No, absolutely. Well, you're also coming on the heels of, right now we're in the middle. Okay, so I think we're actually at the beginning of Boston Tech Week.
Yes.
And it's there's been so many great stories leading up to Boston Tech Week about all of the, the AI coalition, so many interesting, phenomenal ecosystems that it's getting everybody together to support one another. And I think that is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Whereas if you were in other parts of the world, would it be the type of thing where Greentown Labs and Mass Challenge would come together, where Greentown Labs and Workbar would be on the same podcast? Like, would all of us be working together to try to help launch companies in Massachusetts and provide the resources and support they need to be successful and to produce world-changing innovations? I'm not sure that is the case.
I agree.
Yeah.
And kudos to you and your leadership. This is your podcast.
Thank you.
It was very kind of you to invite me on
oh
here
my gosh,
today.
we're so excited to have you. So excited. Tell us a little bit about how you personally came into Greentown Labs and like your personal journey into this world.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I actually thought I was going to do healthcare marketing back in college. I focused on healthcare marketing, healthcare comms, did internships at hospitals, graduated, went to get a job at a local hospital here in Boston, started a grad program that was both a master's in communication and healthcare communications, did that for a semester, stopped it and realized quickly I didn't want to do that. Then was lucky enough to land at a local digital agency, a comms and digital agency that has since been acquired, but it was HB Agency. And it was a pivotal and really wonderful experience for me at that agency, because the leadership team, Kevin Hart, Nicholas Boileau, they were at the time early in raising their flag, saying we want to work on sustainability. We want to focus on climate and green tech and clean tech. It wasn't climate tech at the time.
Yeah.
And so I actually caught the bug for climate, if you will, by working on an energy recovery wheel client, which is like not the sexiest thing ever. I remember reading these ASHRAE industry papers about energy recovery wheels and how it can make an HVAC unit so much more efficient and sustainable. And I was like, wow, this is a fascinating world that I just want to go deeper and deeper into. So then I was lucky enough to raise my hand for every client I could. Worked on Planet Solar, that was a solar-powered boat that made a stop in Boston.
Wow.
And it was just wonderful. And at the time, that was around 2012, when Greentown was getting a little bit more visibility in the area, but didn't have anyone really leading marketing. And so we met then CEO Emily Reichert. I met her at an industry networking event, actually, for Planet Solar.
Oh, cool.
And went back to my bosses the next day and said, could we do pro bono PR for this group? And luckily they were game, and they were interested in working with this organization because they saw the impact of Greentown and the vision of Greentown and how it was working hard to support all of these innovators. So I did that for 3 years as an outside partner, and then was lucky to jump in-house in January of 2016 when Emily was looking to bring marketing in-house. So I think I was employee number 8.
Wow.
And I've been there ever since. Yeah.
Yeah. And now you're ahead of it.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. It was fun. For the last 10 years, led the brand, led comms, led marketing, and then our new CEO, she joined us a year ago, Georgina Campbell-Flatter. Great, impressive, wonderful industry expertise, scaling a technology company in climate. Before that, worked for about 10 years in the MIT ecosystem as well. She joined us a year ago, and part of her vision for Greentown and growing it and scaling it was appointing leaders for each incubator location. So I was lucky enough that she asked me to step into that role when I came back from maternity leave last fall.
That's so exciting.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I love hearing about women supporting women, seeing the talent and giving you the opportunity to be an incredible mom and level up in your career. It's incredible.
Thank you.
Isn't it funny also to think about, like, you were like, healthcare marketing. I remember when I was leaving college, I applied to law school, went to law school for 2 weeks and decided it wasn't for me.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I'm so thankful.
Yeah, I didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
That's so fun.
Oh, I
You
went
share
for 2
that.
weeks. Yeah. And I was like, Mom, Dad, I've decided this isn't for me.
This isn't what I want to do. I'm going to save some money, not do this for years.
Totally.
Yeah. And now I can't imagine. Oh,
I know, it's crazy to think about.
Right.
Well, I think it's as important to know what you don't want to be doing as it is to know what you really love and what fires you up. I think sometimes being able to do the exact thing you want to do isn't always an option at the time you want to do it. But working in an industry or at a company that doesn't fill your cup and is really just like, oh, no, this isn't for me, can really just diminish the excitement, even about a career that you love.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the things I love most about Greentown is that I learn something new every day.
I love
You
that.
meet someone new,
Yep.
you learn about a new technology, you learn about these founding stories of these entrepreneurs and how they got their idea to start this company and the technology and these folks. Sometimes I speak with folks and I'm like, you're one of the smartest people on this planet.
Yeah,
like, it's
isn't that
amazing.
amazing?
And we're just like
Isn't it
sharing,
amazing?
having
And
a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Right, and we're sitting next to one
Yeah,
another.
it's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, when I worked for Regis for quite a few years before I left that company, went to a startup company, then came to Workbar. But people used to ask me all the time, wow, you spent like 15 years at that one company. And I was like, but it never feels that way because we had so many interesting, cool companies coming in and out of the space. It's not like I worked for, I was basically the only employee that worked for Regis on the floor. So you would just hear about so many, and that's how I got the startup bug and thought, okay, I want to leave corporate and go work for a startup company. But it was the same type of thing. It was like you're just around so many different types of companies and people and in different stages of growth and career development. And it's really, I feel very lucky that was sort of my experience as well.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been
Very
great.
cool
I
to
know,
think
it is
about.
very cool to think about. I know, and the time goes by so fast. Like you were saying, 2013, 2016. I'm like, that is over 10 years ago now.
I know.
It just feels like
I know. I have a 13-year-old.
Yeah,
for
that
goodness
is
sakes.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just like blink and it happens. But there's so much hard work every day to day, getting these places to what they are.
Yes. And we all survived the pandemic,
We did.
emerged and thrived through the pandemic. And
We're
that was
thriving.
a time
Yes.
warp in and of itself, too.
I know.
Running a space that is like a place-based space for companies to build. And we
Right.
were able to stay open through it. And
Right.
it was that, we've all emerged from it on the other side, but that was a crazy few years for everybody, too. And
Truly.
how we went to a hybrid model for programming and access, and now we see people back on site, like really humming and buzzing in the space. It's been a really cool evolution as well.
Yeah,
is really
I've
neat.
blocked that out. I still have post-traumatic stress
I know.
disorder. But I do think you bring up a important point, and that is sort of the physical proximity seems underrated. And in this like war on remote work, can you share any stories that sort of come top of mind of random collisions, introductions, or conversations that sort of change the trajectory of companies within your space that you can kind of think of? I know you guys, especially the people who are in your space, they need they need to be there.
Yes.
They have it's labs, it's all those things
Yes.
that they come in to utilize, where that's not the same case for the people in our space. Although I would argue that being with one another is up there in importance. But tell us a little bit about maybe what you've seen over the years in terms of people working together within your space.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some like real meaningful examples that I can point to as sort of like case studies. And then there's also the kind of like intangibles, right? Of you bump into somebody by the bevy, which you talk about the water cooler conversations.
Yeah.
Like we like to talk about it by the bevy because they're a company that was grown out of Greentown.
We are
we have
obsessed with
We're
Bevy.
obsessed with
pride.
Bevy.
We
Yeah.
are as well. We all love Bevy. I think it's like everyone's a team Bevy.
Oh
like
my
how do
God,
you
they're
not?
amazing.
Who is not
Who's
Team
not
Bevy?
Team Bevy?
If you're not, get
What's
on
your
the train.
flavor? Yeah,
now.
get on
Yeah.
the flavor train. It's they're so great.
flavor train.
So by the bevy, right? Like you just see people catching up while they're filling up their waters and getting to know each other. We see talent coming through. So you might see an intern with one company for one semester or one summer and then come back to work at a different company, which we also love to see,
Wow.
which is really lovely because they met that company while they were interning for another one. We have a really amazing, right now, battery community, which is remarkable. About a third of our companies right now in our membership base are working in energy storage. So kind of directly on new battery technologies or sort of adjacent. And so we have this lovely nexus of battery innovators that one provides kind of industrial X-ray CT scanning that can scan batteries and detect any sort of errors or issues or problems with the battery way earlier in the life cycle of that battery. So other companies at Greentown that are developing new battery technologies work with this other company that provides the CT scanning, and they can do that all within 20 feet of each other in the lab,
Wow.
100 feet of each other in the lab. It's amazing. That's a
What
really
important work.
material example
Yeah.
of how the companies are collaborating. We have one company that's just purely works on battery consulting and supports many of our companies that are all building different kinds of batteries and their cycling and their chemistry
Right.
and how they build their products. So the battery community right now is most top of mind.
Yeah.
Because it's also just something Greentown's really doubling down on right now.
Wow.
But the battery community is really something we're very proud of, and it's very special.
That sounds it. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I love the idea of an intern coming in and working for one company and then coming in and working for another company later on. And
We've even at Greentown, we've had many interns and who are now full-time employees and have been with us for many, many years because
Wow.
they did. I mean, we like to welcome interns from all sorts of schools, but we do benefit
Yeah.
from the Northeastern Co-op program.
Oh, that's great.
Hello, Northeastern.
Northeastern, an amazing program. We also get a lot of students from other universities in the area too, so I don't want to
Yeah.
seem too biased there. And the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center has
Yep.
an amazing intern program where they provide stipends to support interns' work. And
Wow.
so a number of the interns that Greentown, the co-ops that Greentown we've had over the years, are now full-time employees, which is just remarkable.
You know what? I
That's
also
amazing.
I give a shout out to Northeastern. I got my graduate degree there, and I'm speaking at an event there over Tech Week about entrepreneurs and getting your first round of funding. And I think they do such really great things in the city of Boston. But we keep hearing, and the Boston Globe publishes articles, I think by the day now, about talent leaving Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how can you, and it's critically important when people graduate from our esteemed educational institutes to keep them here for that 5 years after they graduate for their undergrad degree, and what that can mean for the Boston economy and, continuing to drive world-changing innovations out of our city. And I think it's so interesting when you talk about sort of how you guys have people coming in from the co-op program or internships, and it's like, why would anybody ever want to leave Boston?
know.
I know.
Right? I mean, you have all these amazing, and I hope everybody knows about them, but coming into the companies that are in 100,000 square feet of Greentown Labs,
amazing.
I don't
Thank you.
think people realize how big that
Yeah,
is. That is
right.
a lot of space.
Thank you.
There are
It
a
is.
lot of, 700 companies coming out of that. It's pretty remarkable.
Thank you. Thank
It
you.
really is.
We're really proud of it. And I agree with you. The conversation is an important one. And I also think it's very nuanced. Like, I think I understand you need the headlines and you need people
Yeah.
to see them and talk
Yeah.
about the dimensions of the conversation. But a lot of folks come to Massachusetts for university. And I think it's not realistic for us to think we're going to retain all of them.
Agreed.
I also
Sure.
don't think it's realistic for us to think we're going to retain every company. Like,
Right.
not every company is set up to scale here in Massachusetts. I think we want to try to as best as we can. I think that's where it also becomes more of a governmental, what kind of
Right.
incentives we can provide those companies to grow and scale here. Do we have the land for some of these companies to grow and scale? Like, I think about that from the climate tech perspective.
Right.
A lot of
Yeah.
these companies need larger deployment sites or large sites to build factories. Western Mass is amazing, and I think an untapped resource for us to focus on and bring more into the conversation about helping these companies scale
Right.
in Massachusetts. And it's not going to be a perfect fit for every single one of them.
Right.
I think we at Greentown subscribe to the mindset that we want to keep them here as much as we can, as much as possible, and we want what's best for the company.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, ultimately, especially in your industry and climate tech, you want them to succeed.
Yes.
That's ultimately the goal. And whether that's in
Exactly.
Boston or not, the goal is really just to make sure that they do succeed.
Yes.
Which I agree to. And I think that from my perspective, it's more of creating these ecosystems outside of the city of Boston.
Yes.
Where I think of Boston as all of New England. So creating sort of dynamic, productive workforces, workspaces outside, in whether it's in Burlington, Vermont, Portland, Maine,
Yes.
New
Portsmouth,
Hampshire,
New Hampshire,
Portsmouth,
yeah.
like all of these different places where people don't have to commute into the city
Yeah.
to gain access to all these smart people that are
Right.
at Greentown or at Workbar. We're going to sort of, maybe they come into Greentown or Workbar a few days a week, but maybe not every
Exactly.
day, but still creating those ecosystems which are all connected
Yes,
Yeah.
to one
absolutely.
another. I think that's that's what
Yeah.
success looks like in my mind
Yes.
as well.
Not to plug Northeastern again.
Yeah,
I swear,
no,
they didn't tell me to do this, but
you're getting paid. That's okay. No.
There's the Rue Institute up in Portland, Maine. Like they
Yes.
opened a climate incubator up there, and we
Yeah.
love that. Like that's
That's great.
wonderful.
Yeah.
We need these ecosystems to
Yeah.
expand. That's great.
Yeah.
I love that you brought up Western Massachusetts because I think from my very not nuanced view of why people are graduating college and not staying is because of the cost of living, how expensive it is to live in Boston and even Metro West. I myself just had to move farther west, and certainly it is not Western Massachusetts, but it's on the way to Western Massachusetts. And because I'm farther out now, I've spent more time there, and there really is so much in our great state that we, I think, not in a bad way, narrowly think about Boston, but like you just said, it's a whole New England great area, and there's so much going on nearby and so much opportunity nearby
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
if you want to stay, you don't have to live in Boston.
Yes,
It's okay.
Yeah.
you don't have to.
Yeah.
And a lot of folks can't afford to.
Right.
Like, that's
Absolutely.
a reality. That's the part of
Right.
the conversation too that I think it's like the industries can continue to thrive here, and we can do as much as we can to retain the talent and provide
Right.
really good, reliable jobs. But if they still can't afford to live here, that's a bigger
Totally.
challenge than the industry can solve, right? And
Right.
I think the state administration is working on that. Like they're
Yeah.
very vocal and know it's part of the
Yeah.
challenge, and I think they're working on it. But that's outside of the private sector's
Right.
control. Though
Right.
I think the AI Coalition launched a summer housing
They
offering
did,
too,
yes.
which is really cool.
Yeah.
To get interns here and pay for their housing.
Yep,
for the
they
summer.
did. And we're seeing even in our spaces with the AI coalition, we're seeing companies who are developing, this is just a very small example, but they'll rent space for AI developers across all different companies to come in and work together because that's what exists out in California and New York City.
Right.
So they're saying, developers from Meta, from Salesforce, from,
Oh, cool.
all different places you can come in and work out of this space. And we know that that's how a lot of, whether it's AI developers or software engineers, they like to work elbow to elbow with people who are probably not from the same company, but they
Yeah.
still get a lot of value and a lot of sort of, career advancement from working with other developers from other companies. So
Absolutely.
creating those types of innovative ecosystems within Cambridge, within Boston, and then beyond, I think is really important too, just to keep some of the talent here.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that speaks a little bit to like what founders feel like they want versus what they actually really need. Like when we talk about companies starting here, like you don't necessarily need an office space that you can't afford the rent. You don't need to have a huge team of people within a 20-minute radius.
Yes.
I think because of companies like Greentown and Workbar, there's so much more opportunity to be part of the ecosystem without having to invest such a huge financial piece.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Julia, from your perspective, you're around so many founders and so many companies. What do founders actually end up needing the most once they're inside your space?
It's such a good question. The obvious, right? I think they need the funding. They
Yes.
need the kind of the givens. They need to find their customers. They need each other. I think that's a big, I know it's not, we talk a lot about
No,
community
you're
at
right,
Greentown,
yeah.
but they need each other. They need to know that they're among peers who can share their lived experiences, talk about how they negotiated their term sheets, can talk about how they handled growing their team, and think about hiring and key talent hires, right? These are early stage companies, so they might only be 4 people when they
Right.
join Greentown. They might be upwards of 20 plus people when they kind of graduate out and grow out of Greentown. But those early hires are so critical. So I think talent and organizational development ends up being a pretty big one once they hit a certain size
Yeah.
of company. They often are deep science and engineering expertise, so they usually have the technical side
Right.
covered.
Right.
They often usually need to have a co-founder or someone who's thinking about the kind of the go-to-market business strategy, the commercialization strategy. The companies at Greentown are largely hardware oriented. So that means they also need to be building and designing for manufacturing. So how do you think about, you might have a prototype on your bench in your lab space that's working. You might be able to build 10 of those or 50. maybe 100, but if you need to build 10,000 of them, are you designing it in a way right now that's for scale at manufacturing and the techno-economics so that it makes sense at a cost that makes sense for your company? So we have a sister organization actually called Forge that's spun out of Greentown that's focused entirely on supporting hardware-oriented companies and their manufacturing work, and they try to connect them with local manufacturers across New England.
That is amazing.
So I think that's one specific one at Greentown is like if they're building a physical product, which a lot of the folks at Greentown are building, they really need to be thinking about manufacturing and manufacturing readiness as they're building their tech.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm out of my depths when I'm thinking. I'm like,
league.
wow, I have so many questions, but none that would do anything for this podcast. I want to get really technical. But I love to hear that they're trying to do it in New England.
Yeah, they are. And it's amazing when, another shout out to Forge, they have an amazing network of folks across New England that can help these companies because there's really something, before they go out of state or they go overseas, there's something meaningful about having the founder be able to drive out to the manufacturer and see it being made, connect with the folks who are doing the building and running the pilot line of that manufacturing run. Like it makes a big difference. So having it local has been really meaningful for a lot of folks.
I can imagine that. And it's not like these companies are out here building software, right? They're building, so I can see even more the value of having that type of community where there are so many hard decisions being made every single day that have pretty significant financial repercussions and emotional and well-being and all that kind of stuff. I can almost picture how the community at Greentown is such an integral part of the success of so many of these founders and these companies.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're very proud of the role we get to play in their journey to market and connecting them, like being a real conduit for them to the resources that they need. And the resources can be both people and physical things, right?
Yeah.
So the things we provide on campus and then the introductions to our advisor network or our mentor network. I do also want to add, most of them do have software as well. So they have a software team and the hardware team. So they need to make the two work together, which is also amazing to watch.
I bet. Yeah.
And so that's a unique, I think, part of the Greentown community as well. The other part that's I think they need, it's the fun moments that inject a little levity. Like entrepreneurship is really hard and it can also feel really isolating. And so we have folks, one of our members actually started a puzzle board at Greentown. Like that wasn't even something that Greentown nurtured, but or started. One of our members started it, and now it's like there's a table that just has a puzzle out that at any time someone can come sit for a few minutes and take their brain off of what's happening in the lab and do this for a few minutes. Or we do all sorts of fun kind of community gatherings around town halls or like a pumpkin carving contest in the fall. Like we try to inject these moments of like you can take a break, take a little break, come have a slice of pizza, have a little fun, and then make a new friend, meet somebody new. And then get back at it.
Yeah.
So it can be
we
really
have
hard.
a couple Workbar locations that have the puzzle tables out. And I always love to see when I'm there who swings by and puts a couple pieces in versus who's going to sit down for half an hour and crank out half the puzzle. You can tell ooh, that person needs a break from work. They're
it's
but
funny.
It's important to give.
It's important. And it's also, it made my brain just think about, we used to, all of our locations, we have founding members that are sort of the first people in, and they really create the vibe at the location. We're opening up a location in Harvard Square in August, and we are putting together our founding members. And a lot of it's not anything other than people who come in and they want to experience the space and make it better and figure out ways to make the community come together and to have the right vibe. And each location is the same but different. And so having, I think, people and having the structure where they can sit down and do a puzzle for a couple minutes, they can have that outlet, I think is really important. And I love, it's the same sort of concept as our founding members. It's not driven by Greentown. It's driven by the people in the space. And I think that that's even more important.
Yeah, absolutely.
And says a lot more about your community. So when Maddie and I joke a lot about, we don't joke about founders. We love all of you. But we talk a lot about how it's, I don't know if it's just in Boston, but that's my lived experience because I'm in Boston. But I think from the periphery, startup culture is romanticized a little bit. And this is also making me think about this. What are What are some changes that you've seen within the startup culture and over the past, let's say, like 5 years, right? Since that post-COVID period.
Yeah.
What are you seeing within the people in your space? What advice, I'm sure you're not giving advice, but what type of support are you giving the founders in your space in the past like 5 years that maybe you weren't doing 10 years ago that have sort of changed?
Yeah, it's a good question. I saw this on the note, thank you.
Yeah.
And I was trying to think of it because it's hard. Entrepreneurship was hard
It's
5 years
hard.
ago. It's hard
Right.
today. There are things outside of the founder's control that are outside of all of our control, macroeconomic trends, right?
Right.
And venture capital activity, if we're getting a lot of new cash coming in or if it's a slowdown.
Yeah, you hear a lot about AI getting all the money right now.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think we really focus on the core around having a founding team that you know you can work with and have a founding story. That's part of our interview questions, actually, when we interview companies to come into Greentown. Sort of what's your founding story?
Yeah.
How'd you come together? I think we often talk about making sure you have like what's your market, who's your customer, knowing your customer, doing your customer discovery early on. And even some of that can change and be out of your control too, right? You
Right.
might think you know your customer and then
Right.
things change and
course.
and you have to pivot. But you can't build something that no one's going to buy. And so you have to, as you're building, be thinking about who's going to be your customer. Talent and organizational growth is probably one of the bigger ones that maybe 5 years ago we didn't talk as much about.
Yeah.
Thinking about growing your team, thinking about growing the culture within your team, the organization you want to build around this technology, which will be part of the solution, but you're going to build a team and a company around it. So we talk more about that. I also think before the pandemic, it wasn't talked about as much like how hard it is to be a founder and to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I think maybe we hold a little more space for that now. You know, I don't know that we have a lot of very
that's
active
nice.
like convenings for it, but there is just a recognition in how hard entrepreneurship can be. And you can approach it in disciplined entrepreneurship. One of our board directors is actually Bill Allett from MIT, and he has a book called Disciplined Entrepreneurship. And it's 26 steps of how to pursue
Wow.
the entrepreneurial journey, which is an amazing resource for folks to follow. And there's always things that are outside of your control too,
Totally.
right? And
Yeah.
I think that that's something that we're always trying to, as a community that's very supportive of the founders, tries to encourage them through it. Like, you know, just
Yeah.
hang in there, talk to a fellow founder, think about who you may be, it's often tied to funding challenges, right? At the end of the day, it comes back to that. So we do try and make a lot of connections in that world as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was kind of a lot of different things.
No,
No,
but that's,
it's
I
so
mean, each
great.
one I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
oh
right,
yeah,
yeah,
oh yeah.
check,
So
check,
yeah,
check.
check. Yeah,
I think
agree.
so much of the conversation too, I love how you said about like giving more space for entrepreneurs, recognizing how difficult it is. We talk a lot about in and out of Workbar, and even our last episode of this podcast was about burnout. And I think entrepreneurs can experience it in a very specific way.
Yes.
We are historically a grinding culture, and I think Boston and Massachusetts is a grinding city and state. It's something that we're very proud of, but we can also recognize there's a point at which like grinding not only isn't enough to make a company successful, but also can really be a detriment to the entrepreneur's life. And if we
Yes.
can recognize and support some of like the softer skills
Yeah.
while these companies are growing, I think it's such an incredible service to them.
Absolutely. And I think that is something that in Massachusetts, you know, I haven't ever lived in New York or California
Yeah.
or these other hubs that are really well known for entrepreneurship as well. But I think we do try to foster a good like space to raise families and have a
Yeah.
family
So
here in
too.
Massachusetts, like great healthcare, great
Right.
education
Yep.
system. Like I do think that that's a big selling point for Massachusetts
Yeah.
as
I do
well
too.
for folks who are at that stage in their life. Like it's a great place to raise a family.
Yeah,
I think so
absolutely.
too. Do you think that Greentown would have been as successful if it wasn't in Cambridge or Somerville in Union Square?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
I do think our location was pivotal to our early years of success in growing the community pretty naturally. I mean,
Yep.
we did have team members, and we still do to this day, that are constantly reaching out to founders to encourage them to join the Greentown community and our portfolio development team. But we are about a mile from MIT,
Right.
Harvard, Tufts, over the river, BU.
Yeah.
BC, I could list them all. So
You could,
Northeastern. Sorry
absolutely,
if I leave
yeah.
anybody out.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
I think
no,
86 of them, like
yeah,
within a
it's
few miles.
insane.
So,
Yeah, it's a
Absolutely. Like, I think that's something else. The superpower of Massachusetts is just the university and college ecosystem. Like, that's unlike anywhere else in the
world.
country, but in the world, I think, and
I
that's
agree.
something, I think that's our superpower here, to celebrate the R&D and the innovation coming out of all of our colleges and universities, and celebrating that we're going to support these folks who have an idea from their lab, want to go build it into a company. Hopefully they build and grow that company here in Massachusetts and stay.
Right.
But also, we're really proud of the impact that those companies go have on other ecosystems and
Absolutely.
communities as well. So to your question, I mean, there's no way for me to really know, though.
Yeah.
I do think our local connection to the university ecosystem, the stage of the companies coming out of university and coming to Greentown, was pivotal in our success. I do think also Massachusetts is a place that cares about climate and cares about entrepreneurs and small businesses.
True.
And I do think, we've benefited from the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center over the years and these other great state programs that really care about this ecosystem of climate entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
You guys have been in the middle of Union Square during probably since the Big Dig, one of the biggest redevelopments.
Yes.
In the history of Massachusetts. I mean, it's just wild to go there from when we went, when we closed our location a few years ago, and there was a very good likelihood that we'll soon be announcing that we're opening up again in Union Square.
Awesome.
And but it's so funny because it's so different, but it's still the same.
Yeah.
It's got all the same restaurants. It's got the same look. It's got the same feel. I think that US2, the developer, did such a wonderful job talking to the community, making sure that all of this was backed by the community there, backed by the businesses there,
Yes.
all of the great infrastructure that's gone in, the MBTA line that's there now, all of that I think is just so interesting. How do you think the next wave of sort of the development changes in Union Square will impact Greentown?
Sure. I think
There's a lot of lab space. There's a lot of
lot of lab space, and there's a lot. So Summer Nova is we're part of their innovation campus, one of our main buildings, and then a few of our kind of smaller private spaces as part of the Summer Nova campus that's focused on. So that's where Aeronaut, the brewery,
Yes.
sort of that back area.
Yep.
They're
We had
really
Aeronaut
focused
in our first location there.
Yeah,
cool.
amazing.
Yeah.
So Summer Nova is very committed to fostering an innovation community there as well,
Yeah.
and they've worked with the city of Somerville for a long time on a redevelopment plan
Great.
too. And I know and believe in my heart that Greentown's part of that vision as well over the next 10 to 15 years. So working really closely, we have a great relationship with them.
Awesome.
And I think US2 also, it's this wonderful nexus point of these developers who care deeply about the future of the city,
Right.
and equally care about the current community in the city, which I think
Right.
isn't common among all developers,
agree.
and
I
it's certainly
completely
not
agree
common
with
in all
you.
cities. And so I think that's part of what makes Somerville really special. And trying to, there's these institutions in Somerville that people care about and have been there forever. Ricky's the flower
Yeah.
shop, right?
Yeah.
Is
Yes.
amazing.
Yes.
We got our Christmas tree there this
Yes.
year for Greentown. We had a tree from
That's
there.
so
And
fun.
the market basket, I'm
Yep.
not kidding. We had a team dress up as market basket pre-made food for a
That
Halloween
is
competition, and they
hilarious.
won. And it was
They won.
amazing.
That's awesome.
The neighborhood restaurant that's been open forever.
Yeah.
There's just so much in Union Square that is really part of the fabric of the community.
Totally.
And I feel like the developers really do treasure that and respect it.
That's
I
great
completely,
to hear.
I get the same vibe, the same feeling. I'm there pretty often now, and I love it. I think that, when I think about Workbar's overall portfolio, and I think about going back to Union Square, I just think it's such a win. I think it's a win for Workbar. I think it's a win for the community.
Yeah.
I think that when I think about the co-working brands out in the universe, I think it would make me so upset if it was another company besides Workbar there, because it's just so right for
Yes.
sort of that Boston network of co-working spaces. So I love the idea of being so close to Greentown Labs too. So
I know. Thank you.
Such
I really
cool
do.
synergy.
It's such
Yes.
cool synergy. So we're getting our sign from Kara that we need to wrap it up. But I think about this all the time because I think I had said to you, Julia, when I left my corporate job to go work for a startup, the catalyst was, I'm dropping my kids off every day. I really want to do something that is has meaning to me and not just sort of a global company. And now I've really thought, I've really sort of defined my mission as creating workspaces, a network of workspaces closer to where people live, work, and play. So, especially women and caregivers, if they don't want to leave the workforce, they don't have to. They'd still have a productive, dynamic workplace to go to without commuting down into Boston. So I think about this a lot. But when your kids look back on this phase of your life, sort of what do you hope they understand about what you were building during it? Because you're doing really important work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's such a thoughtful question and such a big question.
It is such a big question. And it's such a, your kids 20 years from now might listen to this. So make
Yes.
it, no,
Yeah.
just don't make totally joking, totally
So let
joking.
me
But it
think
is so,
about this.
you
It's-
are doing life-changing work.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I think when I think about if my kids look back on this chapter of my life or any other chapters, they see that it was founded in building a life with my husband that's rooted in love and joy and happiness and a family unit that is our number one. That's our priority. And I hope they look back on that and always know, even if one of us had to travel or we had an event or something, and they're so little right now that, they'll know if I'm going to miss bedtime or if one of us is traveling. But I hope they look back and they're proud of how we were able to prioritize our family and our family unit and be proud of what we were building for work and saw that we were working really hard and took great pride in what we did and that we were able to also be something else outside of our home and that we could do something and build something that they were proud of and see that we really cared about the work that we did and that we worked really hard at the work that we were producing or the community that I'm helping to build or nurture and that they look back on it with pride.
That's so beautiful.
It is.
Thank you.
I got goosebumps. I think about it so much, and
know.
we talk about this so much just as working parents, and when you have to leave your kids to do work, even when it's the most meaningful work out there, it can feel really hard. But the idea that you are intentionally rooting it in love and trust and all of those things
you.
is so important for kids, and I think just makes it even more beautiful. It's an incredible story.
Very
Thank you.
aspirational.
Yes.
I kind of want to
you.
take that answer.
Yeah, I know. You're like,
very
okay.
aspirational.
So much. Thank you.
I love that.
That's great.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. We could talk for hours and hours. I have so many climate questions, but
And by the way, getting Julia to commit to a day and time was not easy because she is so busy.
busy
you.
saving the world, fam.
Thank you,
We do a lot of
thank you.
events that-
I
no.
know Greentown Labs is like, you guys are a big part of what's going on in Boston right now, and it's pretty awesome to witness it. So
Thank you so much. Come on by anytime.
we will. I'm like, I gotta
Union
swing by.
Square.
This evening. We have an event.
Are you? So is Workbar.
Awesome.
For Boston, it's Boston Tech Week. It's crazy, but that's
Very
awesome.
exciting.
Good for you
Awesome.
guys.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you for
awesome.
having me.
Thank
This
you
was
for
awesome.
coming,
Thanks
Julia.
for being here.
Wonderful.
Great conversation. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.